Hey everybody, Cranford here. Thanks for tuning into the Survivors to Thrivers podcast. And this episode, my first video episode, I'm going to be talking to you about fear, where it comes from, where it gets its fuel, and how you can work to control it so that it doesn't control your life. So, if you want to control your fear and don't let it control you, stay tuned. If you're a survivor of violence and are ready to get control of your life again, you're in the right place at the right time. This is the Survivors to Thrivers podcast with your host, Cranford Blackman. Okay, let's get going. With last week's podcast in mind, where I talked about my fears, I'm trying something different. I'm overcoming my fears by starting to do video instead of just audio. So now, you get to look at my gorgeous face instead of just hear my wonderfully relaxing and calming voice, right? But I don't want to be too calming. I don't want you falling asleep while you're listening to my podcast or watching the video. So if you are just listening to the audio of this, know that you can go over to YouTube and see the video. As I said, today's topic is fear. Now, fear is a problem for us, but don't forget, fear is also our friend. It's a built-in system we have to help us protect ourselves and those that we love. So when you're out camping, or say you're jogging through the park and you see that coyote coming up close to you, it lets you know you need to pick up the pace and get away from it. Or when somebody is coming towards you that you're not comfortable with because you don't know them, you've got that fear inside of you, it reminds you need to do something right now. So it is our helper. But of course it can also be detrimental to us, because fear is that thing that can stop us from doing what we want to do, whether it's starting a video podcast, or starting a blog, or starting a new job, or dating that person that you've been thinking about forever that you met at work or at the party or at school. Let's go with college on that one. But it can stop us from doing the things we want. So we need to figure out, well, I already have, and I'm going to help you figure out, where does that fear come from? Where does fear get its seeds, and where does it get its fuel? And once we've got that figured out, we can kind of nip it in the bud. And that way, we can live a little bit more adventurously, so that we're not afraid of what we're doing. Okay. So where does fear come from? I want you to think of it this way. Fear comes from the past. The seeds of any fear you have are in your past. It's just like with animals in the wild. An animal who has never seen a human doesn't know to be afraid of it. So we might see a deer that doesn't run from us if we're out camping or hiking. And it's because it has no concept of whether a human is dangerous or not. So it has no past experience. And it's the same for us. If we have no experience of starting a new business, no one has told us about their terrible experience of it, then it sounds like a great idea. We're not afraid to do it. We jump right on it. But if we've had a bad experience in the past, well, there's the seed of our fear. Now, I've had several businesses. Some failed, some did well. But if I looked at the ones that failed and I just held on to that as my view of what happens when you start a new business, I would be too terrified to start another one, because it failed, right? I lost money on it. It didn't go well. So now when I've started something new, whether it's this blog or the LabCAF program that I started years ago, if I had stayed in that fear place, I wouldn't have started my program. I wouldn't have taught hundreds of women already how to protect themselves. And it goes for anything. You know, if you've been in a bad relationship, that bad relationship is the seed for the fear that you have now of getting in another relationship. Because what if it turns out just as bad as my last relationship? Or what if this new job is just as bad or worse than my last job? So recognize that anything that you're afraid of, anything that you have fear about doing, comes from something in the past. And that's not altogether bad, right? It's good to be wary of some things, but we don't want to let it stop you from doing something new, something adventurous, something great, something that takes you outside of your comfort zone, where you might find some incredibly wonderful people and wonderful new experiences. Okay, so we know where the seeds of our fear are, things that have happened to us in the past. But those seeds need fertilizer or fuel to come to fruition or to activate, right? Well, where does that fuel come from? That fuel comes from the future. It's what could happen that allows that fear to flourish. Just because you had a bad relationship, just because you had a bad job, just because you had a new business startup, doesn't mean the next one will be bad. What it does mean is that you've had a bad experience. That's all it means. Now, when we get really wound up in our fear, it's because we're looking into the future. What could happen? How much money could we lose? What kind of a bad person could that guy or girl that we want to date be? You know, are they as terrible? Are they as dense as our last boyfriend or girlfriend, right? So as you can see, I have to look forward into the future to give that fear fuel. What could happen? What might happen? What are the possibilities? Okay, now how do we get out of that? Well, if the seeds of our fear are in the past and the fuel of our fear is in the future, what do we need to do? We need to stay in the present. When you're in the present, what has happened before doesn't really affect you so much. And you certainly don't give those bad things in the past the fuel of future thought. You stay right where you are. You know, you look at the person that you're thinking about dating and be excited right now. Don't think about the possibilities. Just enjoy being with them like you do with your friends. You don't look at your friend that you want to hang out with and go, what if we're not friends tomorrow? What if he or she becomes a jerk? You don't think that. You just think, man, I can't wait to go hang out with my friend at the restaurant, at the bar, at the mall, or wherever it is you go hang out. You're just in the moment with them. It's sort of like playing with your pet, your dog, your cat, your goldfish. Well, hopefully you don't play with your goldfish because it might not like that much. But, you know, if it's your dog and you're playing with your dog, you don't think about the future of your dog. You think about the joy you have playing with them right there. The way they're so excited to be with you right now. How fun it is to play with them right now. Okay? And it's the same when you're thinking about a new business or looking for a new job. Don't think about what could happen. Just be in the moment, the excitement of going for something new, taking a new direction in your life. That's great stuff. And the possibilities are just as positive as they can be, right? We can look forward and think about what could be, or we can look forward and think about what we don't want to be. It's really just better to stay right where we are and experience the moment. Now, that also works in the case of being safe, which of course I'm going to talk about a lot in future episodes. It's what LabCAF is based on, how to be safe, how to take care of yourself. So if you're in a scary situation, maybe someone's walking up to you. Oh, let's say you hear a noise at the house, because that happened to my daughter-in-law a while back while her husband, my son, was deployed. So anyway, she heard something outside that could have been somebody messing around with the window trying to get in. But instead of going, oh no, somebody's trying to come in, they're going to hurt me, and just thinking of all that future terrible stuff, she stayed in the moment. She remembered the stuff that she's learned through my program and said, what do I know right now? There's a noise. I can be prepared. I can see what it is. I can be ready to call for help if I need to. Now, it turns out it was leaves rustling against a window, so she was safe. But she didn't let herself get wound up into fear by what could be, what might be. And that's great. That is exactly what you need to do, because when you get into a scary situation, whether it's someone coming towards you, you see them in a parking area moving towards you, You don't know if it's something bad. It might be somebody that's just parked next to you. Is it good to be aware? You bet it is. That's why I teach so much stuff about awareness. But you don't need to go into a fear place. You can be in a ready place, a ready state of mind without being afraid, because you're in the moment. Here's where you are. Here's what's going on. Here's where your car is. And you just be aware and be ready. You can do that without being fearful. So fear, we can kind of nip it in the bud by either avoiding what was in our past, not thinking about it in the moment, not thinking about what could happen, and just being in the present where we can actually do something. We can make a difference in the moment. We can respond to danger in the moment. But we can't do that if we're focused somewhere else on what could be or what has happened. Now, chances are you've done this before. You know, both things, where you let yourself get gripped by fear, and also other places where you were just in the moment. You took care of what needed to be taken care of. You took action, or you were just ready. Now, what I want you to do is to be like that more often. The more often you're like that, the more aware you are, the more prepared you are, and the more life you can experience, because you are not being hung up or held down by fear. So I want you to think back about some times that has happened to you, and I want you to let me know. Let me know what it felt like to just be in the moment for you when you were deciding to do something new, whether it was going for a job or dating that wonderful new person you've met. Okay? So leave me a comment. Let me know what it was. And I'm just excited to hear what your stories are. So leave me a comment down below if you're watching this on the YouTube site, or send me an email at cranford@labcaf.com. And of course, that's CRANFORD at labcaf, LABCAF.com. And let me know what your story is. I just really want to hear from you. Now, if you like what you've heard here today, let me know by giving me a thumbs up, okay? That thumbs up that you give me on YouTube will help other people find our site as well, so they can learn the same things that you're learning about taking care of fear or increasing their situational awareness to help them in any situation. So please do let them know. Share this video with your friends, with your family members, or other people that you just care a lot about, and especially if those people are survivors of violence. After you shared this video with your friends and family members, go on over to the website, labcaf.com, and take a look at some of the articles we've got there. There's a lot of free information there. Look at the resource page, and just go ahead and soak everything up there. There's so much good information there, and it's all free for you to use. And then go ahead and get on my email list. I don't send out a whole lot of stuff, but I will be letting you know when we have new material out, and I'll keep you updated on the new online program that I'm putting together that will be coming out later this year. So until next time, this is Cranford Blackman with LabCaf, reminding you to stay safe and stay strong.
To make sure you never miss an episode of Survivors to Thrivers podcast, subscribe at labcaf.com.
After you've sent those things off, after you've, boy, that's just wrong. Have you done this before? Oh, now as I said, this is horrible, isn't it?